Hey, Rockstars, so glad to have you back to another awesome episode. I'm really excited about this next conversation that I'm going to share with you. Talking with my new friend, Sean Castrina. He's a rock star entrepreneur. Gets it. He's a moving and shaking just like us, right? He's on offense, moving his way through life and business and making sure that he's creating his own environment inside of whatever environment that everybody else is saying. There's no such thing as a recession unless you decide there is. No such thing as inflation for you, right? It's like there's what's going on in the real world, and then there's just going on in your own personal economy. And that's a personal belief that Cindy and I buy into. It's a philosophy that we live, and we do everything we can in our power to impress that upon you and demonstrate it and role model it for you and help you with that as much as possible. And so I'm very attracted to other people who do the same. And so you're gonna, more than any of the words, there's some really great tips that you're gonna catch in this episode. But don't focus on what he's saying. Focus on who he's being while he's saying it. Catch his vibe, catch his mindset, catch his inner game, and the rest of it will take care of itself, right? Sure, write down the nuggets. Please do take notes, do what you got to do, but adapt the mindset of a winner. That's what you're going to find in here, right? So look forward to hearing from you on the backside. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Sales Team Ready podcast, where everything is possible, where there's no such thing as limits or obstacles, only opportunities, that there is nothing but the mountaintop to be reached, right? Sales Team Ready podcast is the podcast for people who know that you're sold out to something more, for those who desire the mountaintop more than anything, right? We want to get you up the mountaintop, but we sure as heck aren't here to convince you that the mountaintop is where you need to be. Hey, I'm your host, Jim Padilla, and today we are going to talk about how to beat the recession, a guide for small business, right? And if you stick around to the end, we're giving away some gifts and bonuses that will help you in your scaling journey, right? So make sure you listen all the way to the end for the details. But before we get started, make sure you go to jimp360.com, JIMP360.com. Connect with me there, whether it's on LinkedIn, on Facebook, shoot me a text. You got all my social medias there, all the information you need to know about me, but please reach out and find me. I want you to connect with me and download me into your phone so you can have access to me anytime you need it. Okay. So that when you need a solution, you need a friend, you know exactly where to go. You push the button, shoot me a text, and I got you. So make sure when you get there, go to the contact button, push the text, send me a message, say, listen, you heard me here on the podcast, and let me know what's going on with you, what problems you're trying to solve, so we can bring those solutions to you here on the podcast and or in the Facebook group or wherever else you find us. Right. So jump on there and make it happen. All of my solutions, everything that I have for you, all under one roof at jimp360.com. Today's guest is an active business owner and a serial entrepreneur. He founded his first company at the age of 23 and has not looked back since. He's founded over 15 successful businesses, ranging from retail property management and development, direct mail, consulting, and home services. His first love, however, is to assist business owners like you and entrepreneurs in achieving incredible success. He's a best-selling author, a frequent resource speaker, and the host of a popular weekly podcast, The 10-Minute Entrepreneur, which you will find me on, as he interviewed me there recently as well. So let's welcome Sean Castrina to the Sales Team Ready podcast. Awesome, Sean. So we just had all the big formal introduction, and so everybody knows your pedigree and what's on paper, but why don't you tell them your version? Why are you here? And what are you excited about?
I say next to faith, entrepreneurship does more good for anything on the planet. It creates jobs, all great innovation. Like I think about like climate change. It'll be an entrepreneur that changes that. It'll never be a government. It'll be somebody tinkering around going, wow, if you do this with water, or if you do this with gas, it's going to be an entrepreneur. And so I'm addicted to entrepreneurship because it takes a kid like me who grew up fairly poor and allowed me to kind of alter the game.
Agreed. Yeah, I could not agree more. I think people miss out on that. It's never going to be an industrialized nation that solves the problems that an entrepreneur could, who's got the will, the desire, the drive, skill set. We can make pivots like a speedboat instead of like a battleship. And we just care more and we're smarter. Government entity is not what people should be looking for.
You got to have 500 people to confirm something. It's just too many people. You can't have more than 5 people in a room and come to a consensus on anything big.
Agreed. Agreed. I appreciate all that perspective for sure. So, what's different, as we are right now, we're in the, August, we're just kicking off
Yeah.
August. We're in the middle of 2022, coming out of 2 years of craziness with COVID and whatever we want to call that. And now headed into call it recession. We're calling it
Yeah.
exciting and opportunity driven times, because I don't want to hear the word recession 4,000 times in the next year. But with that in mind, we could say it's winter. And how do you handle entrepreneurship and investment and wealth creation when you're in winter?
Yeah, I mean, the way I view it is, okay, inflation is 9.1%. Okay, that means I need to give myself a raise 18.2% this year. I mean, just play offense. You just, if you're always on offense and you play some degree of defense in that, I'm not saying that you're moving your holdings around a lot right now or things like that. I'm not telling you to buy cryptocurrency and nonsense like that. But assuming you do the typical things that if you read Tony Robbins' book Money, I mean, so this is a very base level strategic plan. You had all your money in the index funds. Okay, it's going to go up, it's going to go down, you're going to be okay. But you got to always be playing offense with your personal income, and that you do have control over. Maybe you're doing more than one thing, whatever the case may be. You can dictate your offense, or you can just sit around and cry and moan.
Amen to that. I find that when people go on defense, the only thing you can do is delay the inevitable, but you
Well,
can't win.
Well, look at the prevent defense. Anybody's ever watched a football game and seen them go to a prevent defense, it's like it's just you're dragging out them scoring, but they're going to score and win. And I'm like, what did you do for 40, 58 minutes of this game that got you in a position to be ahead? And you're going to totally change things. I never understood that concept. I believe there's times where you got to look at things and go, okay, maybe this isn't the best time to move forward in such. Okay, maybe it was like opening a restaurant during the pandemic. Okay, maybe that wasn't the ideal time or to open up a gym, but it doesn't mean you stop the plan forever, or maybe, that was a time to maybe put money into something else. You got to use some intelligence, of course, but you don't just, put a year or two on hold and do nothing.
Right. So what kind of things are you doing? How are
Well,
you approaching and moving through this time right now?
Yeah, well, I
Preparing.
did the weekend MBA during the pandemic. I mean, we literally had 25 days to sell last year. And that was, we filled up a massive room in Miami and had an incredible event. And so you can do anything, if you really push it, you can push something. And we're franchising looking to franchise a minimum of one of our companies over the next 12 months and probably two over the next 2 years. So, always I play a lot more offense than I do defense.
Yeah. Again, very much resonate with that. And this audience does, the sales team ready audience is a very scale focused minded audience. Everybody here is on the path of exponential growth and looking for big opportunities. Most people here are not into baby steps and incremental growth. So everybody here is drinking that Kool-Aid, just looking for good ideas all the time. So, when you talk about being prepared for a rainy day, what does that look like for you?
I think I like the basics. I like the basics and everything. It's like Derek Jeter, what a shortstop. But you notice he always took infield practice. Okay. Always still
That's my
took
boy.
infield practice. Tom Brady's still doing the fundamentals. I think there's fundamentals of money and your personal finances and your business. Number one is that if you don't have the discipline to live off of 90% of your income and put 10% away and never touch it, well, I don't know how successful you're going to be. I mean, I just know that I've put away money, 10%. I still got the first amount I put away when I graduated college, $35, that paycheck. I still have it. And it goes up and it goes down, but I buy every 2 weeks, cost share averaging. And I win the game every time, constantly winning the game. The market crashed in like 2018, during the pandemic, it crashed. It got down to like 18,000. Everybody goes on like a little crazy thing. And then it went back up to like 34,000 within a year and a half. The game wins. If you take 10% of your money and you put it somewhere and you never touch it, number one, it shows discipline, but number two is it builds, typically your money at a normal index rate turnover will double your money every 7 years. Okay. Second, if I move it into my business, I don't live on every dime that we make. We're massively putting cash in reserves, expanding lines of credit so that we can take, we can move out. We can go buy a company if necessary. I'm always building my lines of credit because I use them like a missile.
Right.
And then I pay them back. I do not use lines of credit to cover your operating expenses. There's my rule. And a line of credit is not for your operating expenses. Okay. You should build enough reserves to do that. But you're just constantly building your cash cushion and then your investment cushion, however you choose to do that in your personal way. I'm not a financial advisor, but when you're not living on everything, you're building up this, an arsenal of credit and cash. And I find they give me more credit based on how much cash I have. When my bank looks at me and I've got this sitting there in cash, they feel a lot more comfortable giving me a line of credit or giving me, credit in general.
Yeah, it's always been that way, right? Those who have it are a better bet, a safer bet, a better risk. And so everybody tends to gravitate towards that direction. And the beauty is when you're an entrepreneur, as you said earlier, right? If we're at 9.1% inflation, then you need to be at 18.2% gains. And as an entrepreneur, you've got the ability to do that in ways that no other people do.
Right, that's what we did. We just scaled another division in our company and carved out a niche that'll generate probably another 250,000 of revenue this year, which is kind of our benchmark on anything we do. If it's under 250,000, it's just kind of general operating money. 250,000 or more, we consider a major initiative, and we always want to do at least one of those a year. So we can, so when inflation's up and it's up and it affects us with gas, I mean, I probably got 30 vans out on the road in one of my companies. You feel it, but you just got to keep playing. You got to play offense.
Sales Team Ready is sponsored by Gain the Edge. If you're wondering how you'll hit your sales goals or hit your numbers, if you've experienced sluggish sales so far to this point, or you're just tired of hitting the same problems and challenges, let us talk. Let us see where we can get you unstuck, right? Because we can create the systems, the processes, the strategies, and the sales teams that can help you move past where you're going and reach that mountaintop. Reach out, join us. Hey, the link is in the show notes, right? And talk to one of our GTE success advisors, see what we can do to get you up to that mountaintop. So as entrepreneurs are listening here and they're thinking about scaling, they're thinking about taking big steps and risks, and going on offense doesn't mean crazy. I don't think anybody's hearing anything come out of your mouth that sounds crazy, just offense, right? So what encouragement, what wisdom, what tangible steps would you give to people listening right now?
I tell them this. I mean, what I tell you is this: if you can generate 20% of new money every year, you can turn your company over every 5 years. So you can double your company every 5 years. If something doesn't work in your company, like things that worked 5 years ago aren't working now in my company. So maybe I lose 20%, but if I've done 20% every year, I've got reserves for when something doesn't work any longer. Like JCPenney and Sears, there was nothing new that they were doing. Blockbuster, there was nothing new. They get desperate at the end and try anything, but the fundamentals were gone. The fundamentals is consistently growing your operations. And so that can, I'll give you the simplest way to scale. Simplest way. Do one hire this year that you never thought you would do. Like one hire that absolutely moves the needle. This person's either would be a superstar, and typically it's somebody in sales or somebody in massive operations, would streamline your operations, would get you to be able to do it overseas or do it in another state, or it's typically a sales and or operations person. And they cost more than what you're comfortable with. Make that hire. In a small business, it's generally a hire that can scale you faster than any single decision you can make. That one superstar hire. And it's across the board. I mean, Bill Gates, Steve Ballmer paid him $50,000 in 1980 coming out of Stanford. You know what $50,000 was in 1980? And then Mark Zuckerberg, Sharon Sandberg. Okay. And then you've got, Steve Jobs, Tim Cook. Big hires move the needle.
Right.
And typically in a small business, we don't do that.
No, that's crazy. And there's been so many times where, my wife and I, who we're both very, very intelligent and good at what we do. There's times in our growth cycle of our company where we've looked around and we recognized that we were the two smartest people in the room.
Yeah.
And we were wondering why we kept hitting our head against the wall and growth was stagnant. right?
Yeah.
It's not until we start bringing people around us that we know can take us where, to the next levels and making those kind of hires.
Exactly. I always say and I'm working on a book right now called 1 + 1 = Done. Me plus what other person can move the needle. In other words, there's always one thing that I lack. And if I had that one thing, the project would be easier, the startup would be easier, scaling the company to the next level would be easier, writing that book would be easier. There's always something that you need. It might be a coach, might be a mentor, maybe a business partner. I mean, who your one is, I don't know, but I have just learned, I've surrounded myself and made investments for extraordinary. I mean, I got partners that make money that I have one of my partners makes so much money every week that I won't even let my secretary show me his weekly amount. Like, I don't even want to see it. It's so jaw dropping. Because when I first brought him on, he wanted to make $850 a week. This was like 7 years ago, and now he makes like up there with the president. And, and it's just like blows me away. The money that people that work with me make, and one of my business partners will be making over 7 figures. And it's just fun, but they were the one that I didn't have. And that's never an average hire. You're talking about outliers here. I call them earth movers. These
Right.
are the people that literally change the earth that you're underneath when they join you.
So what would that look like if, we got people listening that may be 6 figures trying to scale to 7, or if you're at 7, $500,000 company?
Sales. It's always sales. It really is. When it's sub $1 million, it's sales. You
Right.
got to improve your sales. Whoever's doing, you got to attract more customers to be able to sell more customers. So if you could only do one thing, put better marketing, attracting more target customers, and closing more deals, being able to convert more. However you're converting them, every business is different, but that is the magic formula, and it ain't magic.
Exactly. No, but it does matter, and it moves a lot, because today there are so many different distractions that show up in people's feeds as they're scrolling, and they're all attractive because they get you to believe that you can grow without selling.
And you
And so
can't.
everybody wants to lean that direction.
Yeah, there's only here. I'm going to give you guys a really quick, tremendous business lesson in under 2 minutes. You only do 3 things in business to be successful. But if you fail at any of these 3, you will fail. Okay. But these are 3 you can take to the bank. First thing is you must be able to attract customers. Okay. If you can't get people in your store or to your website, whatever that may be, if you don't attract customers, you will be out of business. Number 2 is if you don't convert the customers that you attracted, you will be out of business. Finally, number 3, if you don't fulfill what it is you promised, that what they bought from you, if you can't deliver it, provide the service, the warranty, whatever it is, the back end, the fulfilling it, what did they buy and what did you promise? If you can't do that, you will be out of business. You got to do those 3 things. And failure at any 3 will do you in. One may do you in faster than the other, but you will inevitably die of failure of any of those 3.
So you heard it here first, guys. And quite honestly, you should have heard this stuff many times in your business life where you wouldn't be in business. But attract them, convert them, and fulfill on them, and get good at doing all of that. And then let all of the shiny object stuff, just leave that for the people who don't really want to build a business.
Yeah. When anybody tells you every time you hear you can make money fast, you can learn it quick, all that's, anytime you ever hear something that says it's easier than it should be, it's crap. I've never had any success that didn't take me 2 to 5 years. And that was the fastest, but it was never overnight. I mean, I might got a glimpse that I was on the right scent, but there was a ton of work still ahead of me. So whenever I hear you can be a millionaire in this and you can be a millionaire, I'm like, no, you can't, because number one, they attract not very smart people, because smart people aren't attracted to those because we sniff it out.
Right.
So a not a very smart person is attracted to a partial scam anyway. This is a combination of bad and worse. This is like Dumb and Dumber get together. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, don't buy anybody's golden promise that they crack this code overnight. There's a lot of things that we have figured out, and it appeared to be overnight. And that's just because we finally clicked the switch and said, aha, overnight, but we had been working on it for 5 years.
Exactly. And there's some courses that are great. I just say they're few and far between. If you teach me, if I'm going to look at a course, number one is that it's not my golden ticket. number one. It's additional income. I'm still got something good in my life. So I don't grab onto a course like it's oxygen. That tends to put you in a desperation situation. It normally doesn't work in those situations. But you can get courses where tremendous people have crammed a great deal of knowledge. I mean, I did a course in 1991 by Carlton Sheets. He was the first person to do no money down real estate. And when I tell you Carlton, and he's probably passed away, has made me millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, he has. I was sick one New Year's Eve and watched all his videotapes all night long, and I still do those deals that I learned that night watching those. I only watched them one night, and I've still did those deals. And I watched Tony Robbins when he did the unlimited power, and it was cassette tapes. It was 30 cassette tapes. So I spent and bought Tony's. Then I bought Brian Tracy on how to write a book, and I've written 4 books. So there's my 3 courses that I bought in my lifetime. They're the only 3 I bought, and they've all worked out okay for me. So yeah, if you get the right person, they can be great. But the person who's always looking for that next thing, the hack. Whenever I hear a hack, no, teach me something. Don't give me a hack. Don't tell me I can do it faster. Just tell me how to do it. No, there's even a system, and it's like Carlton Sheets. He just had a very effective way of buying a house with no money down. He knew how to do it. He was extremely credible. Worked in the White House actually, and he was very credible. And it worked. It literally worked. But some people, whenever you see it's just kind of a little scammy, you know that feeling where it's just, if it's too easy, I get a little nervous.
Yeah. And well, today, the things that we are selling that, as a third party seller, when we sell for a lot of people, the things that are most effective are the things where people are not necessarily buying education. They're buying implementation. They're buying your support to consult them and help fix a problem and actually build the solution, as opposed to just sharing information and knowledge that's going to.
And I have a lot of people I pay money like that too. I have people in my world that are so far down certain things for me that I can pick up my phone, and I pay a good bit of money to have them on my phone or to have a Zoom call with them, but they're loaded in my phone.
Amen. So how do we get you loaded in other people's phones? How do people get a hold of you, and where do we find you?
Yeah. Well, the Weekend MBA, which is April of every year, I just pay that because it will be sold out. But if you go to SeanCastrina.com, you'll start by getting a free book, The 8 Unbreakable Rules for Business Startup Success. Tons of New York Times bestselling reviews by authors. I mean, it's a great book. You'll get that for free, and you'll be on our list. And we send a very informative newsletter where I actually teach you business stuff, like those 3 things I taught you about in business. The 3, I like to think I'm fairly decent at that kind of stuff. So you'll get that, and you'll get a discounted invitation to the Weekend MBA. So that's SeanCastrina.com, or you can go to Instagram. I've verified and I have over 300,000 followers, and I actually give good stuff, good content on it. I'm typically not in a Lamborghini, but if you want to learn something, I'll teach you something. So you can go to Sean Castrina on Instagram as well.
Outstanding. And all of that, those links will be in the show notes, so you can have access to it. So don't feel like you got to stop driving or stop on the treadmill right now and catch all that, but make sure that you make an intention to get back in when you are in front of, when you have a time to pause and get back in, check out the show notes, and please go check out what Sean's up to and tell him that you heard him here on the Sales Team Ready podcast, and tell him we said, hey, because he's got some brilliance and a lot of experience and expertise to be able to offer. And again, as you noticed, the most impressive stuff that people share as experts is usually the simplest, right? It's the straightforward stuff. It's not all the fluff. Let's make sure that you guys are making magic happen and getting the cash register to ring so that you can survive. Make sure you're taking the intention, being intentional about getting yourself bulletproof so you can earn money in any environment, so that you go on offense and take care of the people who need you, because they're going to be circling the wagons on defense and they need you to come out and help them out. So Sean, any parting words of wisdom you want to share with everybody?
I love it. I appreciate having you on my podcast. It's a privilege to be on yours and the audience. I encourage you to get the free book. Go to SeanCastrina.com, reach out, DM me on Instagram. But, entrepreneurship, it changes lives. It is an unbelievable tool that everyone has an opportunity to take advantage of.
Amen. All right, guys, go make the cash registers ring. And as always, we thank you for trusting us to be part of your success team and get some stuff put into action. Make sure you reach out. Let us know what's the number one takeaway that you've got for the day, and what are the things you want your lessons to be learning, so that we can bring you the right solutions and the right people. All right. Talk to you soon.